Joe Biden cannot win this election. But Donald Trump can still lose it. A majority of U.S. voters don't want another 4 years of an incumbent president they believe is too old. If Biden's team can run a disciplined campaign, focused on a couple lightning rod issues, while going relentlessly negative on his opponent, they just might convince enough voters that the alternative to Biden is worse. With the speedy, unanimous guilty verdict from a Manhattan jury this Thursday, Trump became the first former U.S. president convicted in a criminal trial. Most Republican officeholders predictably assailed the verdict, which will probably intensify Trump's support from his MAGA base. But for soft or undecided voters, driving home that the presumptive Republican presidential candidate is a convicted felon on 34 counts is likely to give them pause. It has the added virtue of being true. Trump will run a vicious campaign with reckless attacks and no regard for truth. I've covered every U.S. presidential campaign since 1972, and believe me when I say that Biden's team needs to get on the offense before it's too late. First, they need to tamp down all the talk about a good economy. The familiar refrain, "Are you better off than 4 years ago?" is a non-starter this time. Most Americans are better off, but a higher cost of living makes that hard to believe, even if it's true. Second, talking about Biden's vision for the second term won't work. The electorate just doesn't associate an 81-year-old with fresh vision. The Biden campaign complains that the New York Times coverage is overly focused on Biden's age. I've talked to scores of voters recently in the swing states of North Carolina, Michigan and Pennsylvania, most of them Democrats and independents. Most of them don't read the Times. But they do see the president on television, and invariably they mention his age. Above all, Democrats need to remind voters about the dark Trump years, impeachments, mob violence on the Capitol incited by a president seeking to overturn a Democratic election, and, according to his own advisors, hundreds of thousands of lives unnecessarily lost to COVID-19 because of Trump's negligent handling of the crisis. This week's swift guilty verdict by a jury of Trump's peers is a reminder of the chaos that surrounds him. Many Trump critics want to emphasize the threat Trump poses to democracy. It's a real threat. But I worry swing voters will dismiss that argument, rationalizing that we got through 4 years of a President Trump and still have our democracy. There will be Republicans endorsing Biden, but I doubt it will help much. What could make a difference would be alarm bells issued by Trump's disaffected former national security advisors, Defense Secretaries Jim Mattis and Mark Esper, National Security Advisors John Bolton and H.R. McMaster, Chief of Staff John Kelly. If they speak out clearly that Trump threatens America's national security, it might sway some voters. Some say retired generals shouldn't be political. It's hard to find a more revered hero than the late David Shoup, Medal of Honor recipient and former Commandant of the Marine Corps. After retiring, he was one of the most outspoken opponents of the Vietnam War, denouncing it as inimical to American interests. Retired General Mattis, I'm told, believes a second Trump presidency is a far graver danger to us. Isn't it the honorable thing to say so? The foreign policy mess that bedevils Biden is the Gaza war. The president should have broken months ago, not with Israel, but with its reckless leader, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Biden needs to stop equivocating and drawing red lines that Netanyahu ignores. Only a few domestic issues really resonate with voters. Ever since the Supreme Court stacked with Trump appointees repealed the half-century-old federal right to an abortion in 2022, anger over the rollback of reproductive rights has been a winning issue for Democrats, with larger-than-expected turnouts. The issue likely will be on a number of November ballots, including swing states Arizona and Nevada. It is also a pathway to assail a Supreme Court controlled by Trump lackeys. Trump tries to play it both ways, but the reality is that access to abortion, including to the abortion pill, will become much harder if he's re-elected. Bizarrely, 17% of voters in a recent poll blamed Biden for the abortion rollback. He and his surrogates need to drive home every day that it's the other side taking away your rights. Biden should hit hard on economic equity with specifics, pledging to double the $7.25 minimum wage that hasn't risen in 15 years, and he should let the multi-trillion-dollar Trump tax cuts for the wealthy expire. Republicans have opposed raising the minimum wage and passionately support tax cuts for the rich. Biden can credibly charge that to cut the deficit, Republicans will go after your Social Security and Medicare. Health care is an underrated issue, but it matters. Trump vows to end the Affordable Care Act and has no clue how to replace it. The Biden administration's cap on some expensive drug prices would be deep-sixed by Republicans. This is a clear, factual argument that will resonate. Under Trump, health insurance premiums and drug prices will soar. Immigration is a live-wire issue in border states and among Republicans and independents. Biden should embrace the tough bipartisan border bill that congressional Republicans were ready to pass until Trump forced them to kill it earlier this year. To win, Biden can't get distracted. He has to pick his issues and forcefully attack his demagogic opponent. The president and his team, no doubt, would like to run on his accomplishments. But if he does, his great-grandchildren one day will read about all that was achieved by that one-term president.